So there you are, you've been streaming for 24 hours straight to a total of 2 viewers, and you're about to break through and become the next most popular streamer, but only if you had a display good enough. Well, I've got great news for you because yes, 360Hz OLED monitors are here, bringing unparalleled levels of motion performance and latency. And today, we're going to be taking a look specifically at the Gigabyte FO27Q3, which was lent to me by Gigabyte, and of course, will not be changing my opinion. Now, this is a 27-inch 2560 by 1440 360Hz 16:9 Quantum OLED monitor with an alleged response time of 0.03 milliseconds. Yes, it has G-Sync and FreeSync compatibility, and it also comes with a VESA Display HDR True Black 400 rating. Woo! And in terms of the overall design, I gotta say the monitor itself looks absolutely fantastic. I think the Gigabyte has nailed the design on the monitor itself if you ignore those absolute clown shoes on the monitor stand. But it does move in every direction you would expect except for one, and it also allows for a typical 100 by 100 millimeter VESA mount. In terms of ports, pause if you need to, but yes, it does come with 2 HDMI 2.1 ports. Now, in terms of the price and the warranty, this thing comes in at a fairly steep, roughly $800, and it also comes with a 3-year warranty, including panel burn-in. So the warranty looks good, all the specs look great, and to be honest with you, while the price is relatively high for a 1440p monitor, it is 360Hz, and it's gonna be one of the fastest monitors money can buy. So whether or not I'm gonna recommend this is gonna come down to the panel's performance. So let's get into it, starting off with the color. Now, this is a Quantum OLED, so of course the colors are absolutely excellent. It has the ability to display colors at brightness levels and saturation that we've never seen before, and it looks so punchy and vibrant that I think any gamer is gonna absolutely love this, although I did notice it feels like at times it looks almost a little bit oversaturated and might require some fine-tuning when it comes to editing. And speaking of accuracy, how does it look out of the box? Well, if we take a look at the sRGB results, well, it's not so hot. It does require some adjustments, which are pretty easy to do, and thankfully I was able to, and I'll have the best settings and ICC profile for this display linked in the description below in my Patreon, which also gets you access to the Discord. Highly recommend it, and also appreciate your guys' support. And in terms of the HDR, once again, it is a little bit off. Here you can see that it's over brightening near the top, and it's actually a little bit under brightening on some of these shadowy areas, and the RGB balance is also incorrect. Now, after some minor adjustments, I was able to correct it greatly, although I wasn't able to fully fix the RGB balance at those higher brightness levels. And in terms of the color volume, it's absolutely incredible, coming in at around 110% DCI-P3. So this is gonna outpace just about any other monitor on the market. But now let's go ahead and talk about the brightness, as this is certainly one of the most important metrics when it comes to OLED monitors in 2024. And my first impressions are, in terms of desktop usage, this is certainly very usable and overall really good. However, in some HDR scenes, it may be a little bit underwhelming, leading to some somewhat washed out HDR experiences when it's supposed to be a very bright overall scene. And to highlight that, let's go ahead and take a look at the window brightness. Here you can see it's actually at the bottom of the chart of all the HDR monitors I have on this list, which is not too great. It has a 100% window of 285 nits, which is very good for an OLED. However, that 10% window is just 491 nits, and it gets absolutely crushed by basically every single other display. But what about in a real game? And here you can see that it does fare a little bit better, coming in Baldur's Gate 3 with a terrain brightness of 218 nits and a highlight of 402. However, even first generation MLA OLED panels are beating it by a significant margin, and Mini LED is absolutely crushing this thing in this metric. So as you can tell, while it does have the ability to show a satisfying amount of brightness, especially for desktop usage, it isn't going to be wowing you like you might see on an OLED TV or a mini LED monitor. But what about the latency? I mean, sure, the HDR experience isn't blowing your mind, but it is going to be really, really good for those dark scenes thanks to the per pixel local dimming of OLED and infinite contrast ratio. And of course, OLED's biggest strength is gonna be the motion performance and the latency of 360 Hz. And guys, it is no joke, this is one of the fastest displays I've ever measured, coming in with a total system latency of just 23 milliseconds. What? And it gets even more crazy when we take a look at the motion performance. I mean, look at this thing at 360 Hz. It is getting so close to that example image that this looks really close to a screenshot in motion. It is gonna be, I think, a competitive gamer's best friend. I mean, even at 240 Hz, it looks great. And even if you can only push 120 Hz, it's still pretty good. But when you compare that 360 Hz image to, say, the 144 Hz of the mini LED on the right over there, it is no contest. This is going to be, I think, one of the best displays money can buy when it comes, again, to that competitive gaming. And that's not to mention that among the many features such as KVM and OLED Care, you also get the ability to shrink down to a lower but still native resolution, meaning you will get a better looking image that is not stretched to the full size of the screen if you need more performance in an online game. Now, in terms of the text clarity and subpixel layout, unfortunately, this is another section where, yeah, Quantum.OLED is definitely kind of falling behind. It does have an RGB subpixel layout, but it is in a triangle fashion, which leads to a lot of fringing at 1440p, especially on green and red, on the edges of text and objects. In fact, I've heard some people complaining about headaches, so you might want to kind of test drive something like this for a while before you commit, as some of that chromatic aberration that you see could be very, very irritating at this lower 1440p resolution. At 4K, not much of a problem, but at 1440p, it is very noticeable. Now, in terms of the finish itself and the perceived clarity, it does have excellent clarity, vibrancy, and contrast in a light-controlled room, leading to excellent nighttime HDR scenes and just super vibrant, pops off your screen type of colors and pictures. But if you don't have it in a light-controlled room, it's, let's be honest guys, it's a disaster. It absolutely destroys the contrast ratios because it lights up magenta like nothing I've ever seen before. Now, don't take this out of context. If anybody from any manufacturers is watching this right now, do not put a matte screen over this to try and quote-unquote fix that problem. That is an awful idea. It will lead to a way worse image that's just super grainy and oily. I much prefer this over a matte finish. Don't get me wrong. However, there is clearly room for improvement here. Please don't use a matte coating. Do not. But improve the ambient light handling of Quantum.OLED while still using a glossy finish. As you can see, the LG C4 also has a glossy finish, but has nowhere near these problems. That's what I want to see out of Quantum.OLED in the future so that more people can enjoy this type of a screen, because again, in a light-controlled room, it looks amazing. But in any case, what about the viewing angles and uniformity? It's Quantum.OLED. It is nearly perfect, so let's move on. There was one issue I came across, and that was I did have 4-second black screens when alt-tabbing out of some full-screen applications, regardless of whether I use DisplayPort or HDMI. So I would like to see that addressed in a firmware update, as there's really no reason for that to be occurring. And the menu and firmware was great, and then I did not see any major G-Sync flickering. So overall, do I recommend this monitor? And I'm gonna say yes, which by the way, I'll try and have an affiliate link in the description below to this monitor. I think that this monitor is really, really excellent for those of you who want to play competitive games online. Again, that motion performance and latency is insane. It's like nothing I've ever seen before. And if you're in a light controlled room, the contrast of the per pixel local dimming and pure blacks that you get out of OLED make this just miles and miles better than any other LCD on the market or mini LED. It just destroys them. It is so much better in so many ways. However, it is kind of expensive, and again, the magenta tinting on that finish for those of you who want to play in a bright room or near a window can be a problem. So if you want to play in a light room, maybe not for you. If you want to play mostly single player games at 4K, also maybe not for you. But for those of you trying to boof that G Fuel and get that victory royale or chicken dinner or what have you, this is one of the penultimate HDR monitors that you can buy today for competitive gaming. Whether you're looking to connect a new console, gaming PC, or just need a fast and reliable HDMI cable to connect over long distances, Rupro has you covered with their certified 8K HDMI 2.1 fiber optic cable available in sizes of up to 50 feet and can deliver a perfect full 48 gigabits per second connection over distances other cables could only dream of reaching. And with 48 gigabits per second of bandwidth, it can easily drive 8K 60 FPS or 4K 144 FPS 10-bit HDR video through its ultra-thin, flexible, and durable housing, and it even supports ER. So if you're in the market for a cable that can drive a beautiful new TV or monitor, be sure to check out Rupro on Amazon today.